Hey guys, Fletch the Football Observer here, and today's video is going to be a transfer talking video, and we have got a hell of a lot to get through. So without further ado, let's get into this. We're going to begin with arguably the biggest transfer story around, and this one concerns Joao Felix, now formerly of Benfica, as yesterday he completed his move to Atletico Madrid. The highly rated 19-year-old truly burst onto the scene this past season with impressive performances for Benfica during their League and Europa League campaigns. He made 26 appearances in the league for Benfica last season, scoring 15 goals and assisting 9 times. He's been nicknamed the Portuguese Wonderkid, easy to see why, and Atletico have surely taken a shine to him as they have managed to land the Portuguese winger with a fee that is believed to be 126 million euros, which works out at about 113 million pounds. He's also said to have signed his 7-year deal, and to be honest, considering his age, it does prove a bit of a risk. But as I've said time and time again, every transfer, regardless of age, is considered to be a risk when you think about it. He's got plenty of time to grow and evolve. He's nearing entering his 20s, for God's sake. He's 19. He's signed for a ridiculous amount of money. He's signed for a top club in Spain. But you can honestly predict that if his growth and his and everything that goes with him to evolve and continue to grow as a player continues as it is doing and as it's showing, and as many people are predicting, you can honestly see that maybe a Barcelona or maybe a Real Madrid or even a PSG would come in for him in a few years' time. But for now, the bottom line here is that Joao Felix has completed his move to Atletico Madrid from Benfica. For our next story, it's a case of one in and one out at Atletico, as Joao Felix may have entered Atletico, but leaving the Spanish club is going to be Rodri, after Manchester City had activated his release clause yesterday. And then fast forward to today, they have officially announced the signing of the 23-year-old Spanish midfielder. A few weeks ago, this story was first reported, and yesterday Atletico confirmed that Manchester City are on the verge of signing the Spanish midfielder ahead of Bayern Munich, who were also rumoured to have interest in him because they had activated the £62.5 million release clause that was within Rodri's contract. 62.5 million will break City's current transfer fee record that currently stands at £60 million. That money, of course, was used to bring Riyad Mahrez to the Etihad last year from Leicester, so that eclipses that. And let's face it, defensive midfield has been a position that Pep Guardiola has been wanting to strengthen for some time now. He missed out on Jorginho last year with him going to Chelsea. Didn't get anyone in last season in the remainder of the summer transfer window, or even in the January transfer window. But now they have managed to get that area secured. They have now immediate competition for Fernandinho, and then of course he will eventually go on to succeed the Brazilian once he decides to move on with his career, whatever that may be. But the bottom line here is that Rodri is now a Manchester City player. Pep Guardiola finally has his man, and Manchester City's squad goes from strength to strength. Yesterday was a pretty busy day for Manchester City, as this story next proves. Not only did yesterday they reach the agreed release clause to sign Rodri, but yesterday they also confirmed the signing of Angelino. Now, Angelino left Manchester City last year for Dutch side PSV after spending 5 years with City beforehand, but now he has returned to the Etihad after Manchester City had activated a £5.3 million buyback clause within his contract. Angelino is a 22-year-old left-back, which, as we know, that is another position that Pep Guardiola has been trying to get cover for and strengthen for some time for City over the past few years. We all know about Benjamin Mendy. He was meant to be brought in as the main left-back in Pep Guardiola's team, but of course his injuries mean that his his main and major contribution to the club has been off the pitch through social media and Twitter. And of course, we all know that Alexander Zinchenko Fabian Delph and Aymeric Laporte have all filled in at left back at one point or another down the years. But Angelino has signed for City, and him along with Rodri have been confirmed. And they are really two positions that Guardiola has been looking to strengthen this summer. And it's nice for him that he's got his business done early, and now he can set up for pre-season knowing that his squad are ready to defend their Premier League title. Our next story brings us to Leicester City, who today have confirmed that Ayoze Perez has signed for the Foxes from Newcastle United. A couple of days ago, it was revealed that a £30 million fee had been agreed between the two clubs for the sale of the Spanish striker. And today, the Foxes have confirmed that going forth, Ayoze Perez is a Foxes player. I'm sure this news is going to go down very well with the Newcastle faithful. They, of course, have had a very, very tough week, having seen Rafa Benitez walk out the door for the final time at Newcastle, having not been able to agree a new contract between him and the owners for staying on, and has instead gone to China. And now they have seen Ayoze Perez, a star player for the Magpies, leave the club as well. Perez played 195 times in a Newcastle shirt, scoring 48 goals and assisting 17. A big contribution of his stats for that overall were made last season, where he played 37 league games, scoring 12 and assisting twice. He was praised last season for having a more productive season, and I think that was down to the good partnership that he built up with Solomon Rondon, fellow striker, and of course Benitez seemed to bring out the best in both of them. So this is the news that Leicester City have made a signing in striker Ayoze Perez from Newcastle. We wait and see how Newcastle respond to losing a big player and how Perez will fit in at the Foxes. Our next story brings us to West Ham, and this one surrounds Marko Arnautovic, as he has handed in a transfer request to the club. And honestly, this story feels like I've been put in a time machine and sent back 6 months, because as you may remember, Arnautovic wanted to leave the club in January when a Chinese club was after him, but when that didn't happen, he came back, he said he'd give his all for the club, and now in the summer, the transfer window is once again open. Another bid has come in from a Chinese club that West Ham have reportedly rejected. They reportedly rejected a bid of just under 20 million for the Austrian striker from a unnamed Chinese Super League club. That's been rejected, and Arnautovic seemingly isn't very happy, wants to leave the club, and has stated so by handing in a transfer request. Simply put, Arnautovic, he's 30 years old. His career is slowly coming to an end. It's not exactly like he's completely coming to an end. It's not as if he's, over the hill, so to speak. But I can't imagine too many clubs at the same level or higher of West Ham will be wanting to take this guy on as one of their own kind of thing. And I can't imagine that with all the problems that Arnautovic carries, and the way that he goes about his business kind of thing, I can't imagine too many of them clubs will be wanting to take a risk on him. And for him personally, I think he's looking for just one last big paycheck, and there's none bigger than what's coming out of China right now. Seems to be the growing trend. If you want big money, go to China, and this seems to be what he's planning on doing. Last big hurrah, and then he can slowly sail off into the sunset with a lot of cash in his pocket. We wait and see how this one plays out. Next we come to Bruno Fernandes of Sporting Lisbon, and this is really a story, a saga that has been going on throughout this transfer window, sort of going a little bit under the radar because bigger stories have sort of taken the spotlight, but this is one that's been growing and is continuing to grow and grow as the transfer window progresses. He's a 24-year-old Portuguese midfielder. He's seemingly attracted the interest of two clubs in particular, both from the Premier League. They are Liverpool and Manchester United. They are reportedly both interested. Or are they? Because if you go over this story from the beginning to the present day, both sides have had a number of contrasting reports on them Some state both sides are interested in him. Some state that both sides are not interested in him. Some even state that one club is interested but the other isn't. It's a very, very, very unclear mess, this one. Well, the news broke yesterday that may give a little bit more clarity onto this situation. Or then again, it may not. I don't know. The news broke that Manchester United have confirmed their interest in him, whilst it's also been reported that Liverpool are also making plans to sign the 24-year-old. Sporting Lisbon are looking for a hefty fee though. They will be looking to sell him on for a high price, and it will be interesting to see if either side can negotiate a deal for the Portuguese midfielder. We certainly haven't heard the last of Bruno Fernandes. For our next story, this would simply put be a phenomenal move should everything go to plan. It's the story of Gianluigi Buffon, who looks set to return to Juventus. At first, it was Aaron Ramsey who signed on a free transfer. Next, Adrien Rabiot looks set to sign for the old lady on a free transfer. Will Buffon also be signing for the Serie A champions on a free transfer? The kings of the free transfers have looked to have struck again, as last season we saw the Italian goalkeeper leave Juventus after a 17-year stay with the club prior to leave them for France and play for PSG instead, and whilst there he helped them to the French league title. But after a year, PSG were not interested in extending his stay. He is now a free agent, and Juventus looks set to pick him up on that free transfer. It's expected that Buffon will be returning as a backup goalkeeper to the current number one in Wojciech Szczesny, and it is expected also that he will be signing only a one-year deal with the club. And let's face it, the chances are is that with his age and everything, this will probably be Buffon's final playing season before retiring. And with it being a one-year contract at the club, the way he spent the majority of his career, you'd have to assume that this is just to set up for him going on to take up a role within the club at something beyond next summer. Beyond next summer when his contract does expire as a player. So, wouldn't it be incredible? Let's say this is going to be his final season. Wouldn't it be absolutely incredible, absolutely phenomenal, if he could win the one trophy that has eluded him his whole career with the club he has spent almost his entire career at? The Champions League. Wouldn't it be absolutely phenomenal if he went back to Juventus and they won that trophy? Not just for the club, of course, not just for other players like Ronaldo and stuff like that, but for a club and footballing legend in Buffon. We wait and see if obviously his medical comes back all clear, because I think that's the only thing that they're waiting on before confirming this deal. But it does look like that Gianluigi Buffon will be returning to Juventus. And for our final story, I know that this story is a couple of days old, but I felt the need to include it anyway, as I had not talked about it since the deal was confirmed. But this is a story of Tanguy NDombele finally signing for Tottenham. The Spurs have finally got their man in the 22-year-old Frenchman, as he signed a couple of days ago for a fee believed to be in the region of £63 million. And he has signed a 6-year deal. Of course, this is a guy that has had a lot of attention and a lot of interest put into him. He's received interest from a lot of Europe's big clubs, but it is Tottenham that he's decided to go to. He signed for Lyon a year ago for £12 million, so you can imagine that Lyon are very happy to have received quite a big profit on his sale. And, of course, when you wait for one signing, two come along at once. Okay, maybe this deal also came before the Ndombele one, but Spurs also completed the signing of Jack Clarke from Leeds yesterday, but have loaned him back instantly, so he will play the forthcoming season with the Championship club. Clarke signed an undisclosed fee and a four-year deal, and he, of course, becomes the first signing since Lucas Moura a year and a half ago. And then within a few hours, Ndombele was announced as well. So Spurs fans, you wait for one signing and two come along at once. How about that? And that wraps up the latest episode of Transfer Talk. But guys, I want to know if you have any thoughts or opinions on any of the stories that I've covered in this video. Let me know them thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. I look forward to reading them all. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch the Football Observer. This has been another transfer talking video. And I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.